LSU will have one last practice at home before going across the pond to Ireland for their season opener this Saturday. Noles running back Lawrence Philly believes the running backs will add a big contribution to the team this year.
We still got the versatility in that room, and I feel like, we got everything we need to be able to contribute to help the team win.
It's 88 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
I'm a little feisty today.
Oh.
Normally I work out in the mornings before the show. Did not do that today. So we're going to talk college football later, and I feel like I'm going to get upset.
Oh.
I'm just telling you now, be prepared for me to be upset.
I'm ready.
Good.
Lauren Brooks upset. I was going to say, we don't get that very often.
When you're fiery.
We don't get that very often.
Yeah, I feel it in my bones. And that's coming up in a little bit. But first, let's talk Jaguars. Like to always start the show talking a little about the hometown team. And EJ Perry arrives in town wearing number 6, the same number as Darnell Savage. I have a feeling that they'll have to work that out before Friday night.
I think they'll have to work that out. We don't want a Billy Napier situation on the field at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I also think...
EJ's like, me?
I also think that there's a very good chance, and I understand the NFL's rules, but I think there's a very good chance that both of those players are not playing at the same time. That still creates a little snafu on the NFL front, and the college football front for that matter, too.
In college, they're allowed to have 2 players wearing the same number because the rosters are 85 people versus 53. In the NFL, you're not at all allowed to have that, but I'm sure that they'll work that out.
Exactly. There's a good chance they won't be on the field at the same time, so I'm sure they'll find a number for EJ Perry.
Especially because Savage has had a red jersey on like all camp, too.
Right.
So it's like even funnier that it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah. This one, it makes the most sense. I had gotten word early yesterday that the Jaguars waived Brevin Easton with the intention of getting a quarterback on the roster to, if nothing else, knowing that C.J. Beathard would not be available on Friday night, to ensure that, number one, God forbid, you have that third quarterback on the roster, but also, number two, this way you don't have to play Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones for quite nearly as long as you may have if they were the only 2 active quarterbacks who you could choose from. And so I think that EJ Perry made a ton of sense. I know those of you who are still part of the, what do we call it? Yes, club? The Maple Minshew cult. You were stumping for him. I think he's doing just fine and dandy up in the CFL since being waived by the Atlanta Falcons, ironically enough, a week and a half ago. And so therefore this made the most sense. As Press Taylor told me this morning, EJ Perry knows 50 to 75% of the terminology from the jump, just based off of his 2 stops here in Jacksonville previously, one of which included the entire 2022 season. And so makes a lot of sense. And do I think he's making the 53-man roster or the practice squad? Probably not. But for this week, I think he gets a paycheck or something at least, some form of
a free meal,
some sort of form of payment for his services for the next few days. And I think it's also important because now you won't. In my estimation, you won't have to play Trevor Lawrence for a full half if you see what you need to see from him in the first few drives.
It was the timing was fantastic because I had just tweeted like the Jaguars quarterback room being William, because the Jaguars posted the video of the players saying if they knew Trevor's real name was William or not. And so I was like, the Jaguars quarterbacks are William Lawrence, Michael McCorkle, and Casey Beathard. And then Daniel Griffiths of Jaguars SI commented and was like, this seems like the perfect time to bring back Ernest Perry. 10 minutes later, it was like Jaguars signed EJ Perry. And I was like, that was great. He was like, I feel like I'm an insider and I didn't even know it.
Yes, William Trevor is his real name. Michael McCorkle, Mac's real name. Not many people, I'm sure, knew that. Speaking of a conversation we had yesterday, Brian Thomas Jr., we put out the grades. Mia did a good job on those graphics, and we put out the grades. And I feel like everybody was upset with you two for not having BTJ as an A.
We didn't include the audio, though. I said from the jump, the only one who's getting an A is Cam Little, and even then I'm docking him the minus because I know he would like to be docked the minus for missing the 62-yard field goal. He's the only one at this juncture who has earned a starting spot and has earned a significant amount of playing time.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I feel like it's unfair and it sets the bar almost too high to give anybody an A at this juncture.
Yeah, and that's how, to me, it was more so that, like, those, I feel like if you give an A and you gave an A, but you, like, showed up to class and got an A, because to me,
those 2 catches were way better than just showing up to
no,
big preseason games.
no.
The one catch was
No, 2
contested.
catches in a preseason
It was a
game.
DPI.
To me, an A means I don't feel like there's much more I need to see or much more that needs to improve. I still truly believe that there's development that needs to happen in Brian Thomas Jr. If I didn't, that would be me lying. I think that we are going to see, especially once the season starts, there are going to be learning curves. It's just going to happen. It happens with all the young wide receivers. And so for me, if me personally, and I also prefaced this when someone asked, like, on the comment about it, and I said also, I haven't been at camp as much either. So the majority of mine is, I'm not going to grade it off of what you guys are tweeting. Like, that's just not how I am personally. I need to see it with my own eyes to be able to grade someone fairly. And to me, 2 catches in a preseason game and a few good practices, 6 padded practices are not enough for me to give an A yet.
And I think the way I viewed it was maybe a little bit differently than y'all did. And it was, for me, how would I grade them to this point? And like you said, getting to see every practice other than the last couple of days, because the practices have been during the show. But what I have seen to this point is, if he was drafted in the first round, has he played like that through the training camp practices and through the first 2 preseason games? And for me, he has. That one catch in the first game against the Chiefs was unbelievable. I did think they should have thrown the flag. Trevor said that after the game. And then the comeback route, which, like we talked about yesterday, all over social media, he is a guy that I really believe might be the best receiver on this team by the end of the season. And to me, he has shown already that he can be that guy, and that gets me excited.
I've been fooled before, though, by rookies, and that's not to say that he can't be that, Lauren. It's just I don't want to put that pressure on a rookie right now to be the guy.
Yeah.
And
nor do I think they are.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the best thing for his development right now.
Definitely.
I don't think, he could be the best receiver. Yeah, that's all fine and true. I was once upon a time told that DJ Chark was going to emerge as even the number 2 wide receiver during his rookie year, and all he did was be a great gunner. Mm-hmm. And then his second year in the league, he was a Pro Bowler. And
so bad onboarding, Mia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was not even bad onboarding. I think that was just, a rookie taking his lumps, and that's okay. This time a year ago, I went on the Dan Le Batard show, and I told them, buy Tank Bigsby stock because he's been the most impressive guy in training camp. And so that is where I always have a little bit more trepidation with rookies, because I've been burned before. Mm-hmm. And I think rookies and current veterans would tell you they've seen it year after year. And so that's where I just want to pause a little bit.
You're pumping the brakes.
Pump the brakes a little bit. You can hop aboard the Parker Washington hype train. I'm here for that. Yeah. Hop on that hype train, because that's a guy who took his lumps last year. Yep. And while he doesn't know everything about the NFL and everything his career is going to entail, he's a guy who has been onboarded and now has a better scope of what he's up against.
And that's what I think, to your point, Lauren, every teacher grades different. And that, I think each of us maybe had a little bit of different mindset when we were throwing the grades out too. I wouldn't give Caleb or Rome an A too, and they've played technically a full game, almost a game and a half, each of them, and I still wouldn't give it to them either. I am just to that point where, to me, a rookie getting a B is good. To me, that means you've shown me enough in these small little sample sizes in preseason against nobody and against practice with no pads on for me to say that you've performed enough. If I was concerned, it'd be D's. So there's nobody in the rookie class so far other than the TBDs that I think has been bad.
Yeah, certainly the incompletes for injuries. Mia, since you mentioned Le Batard, we never got to this last week because I didn't want to necessarily give it airtime. But what does he have against the city of Jacksonville? He put out a poll asking if the city of Jacksonville smells bad.
The short answer is the columnist, Lauren, but I'm not going to get into that friendship or relationship or whatever we want to call it, the rivalry. But no, it's just Le Batard. You don't get the show, Lauren, and it's okay. You have to get the show to understand.
I don't listen to
Does it stink? I don't know. Like, is that a thing?
No, it doesn't stink.
You have to get the show to understand the humor of it.
I was just wondering if it was like a thing. Like,
so a
people
long time
talked
ago
about.
when Jacksonville had paper mills, people did say that it would stink, but they moved the paper mills to other places. So now, yes, there's a coffee smell when you drive downtown with Maxwell House.
And some ocean.
Yeah, right. And if you don't like the smell of the ocean, there might be something wrong with you. You might hate America. All right, sticking with the Jaguars, what are 3 things that you want to see from the Jaguars in the final preseason game. And normally we would do this on Friday, but Mia's not going to be here, so I want to do this today. So Mia, I'll start with you. Your 3 things you want to see from the Jaguars in the game against the Falcons.
Stay healthy. First and foremost, I would also like to see Darnell Savage in team drills, I should say on the field, I should say. He actually is participating, with the non-contact penny. We haven't seen him in the preseason, so would like to see him in some form or fashion. Speaking of team drills, from what I can see from some of our boots on the ground of the media contingent here in Jacksonville, it looks like Eric Armstead is participating in team drills. This is according to a couple of different reporters there. They are not going full speed. It's really more of a walkthrough type of practice. But the fact that he's at least participating in the walkthrough in the team portion is obviously significant as he continues to reacclimate. And so would love to see him on Friday. Doug Peterson has stressed he doesn't need to see him. And so I would say more likely you see Savage, at least from what Doug has told us and what I expect to see, than it is that you would see Eric Armstead on Friday. I would love to see him, though. And then finally, I need to see one of these rookies flash. I go back to 2 years ago, that final preseason game against the Falcons. Tim Jones made a statement with a touchdown catch in which he basically all but said, yeah, I will be the 5th or 6th wide receiver on this team, and he ended up being the 5th wide receiver. That's how he won the spot. So whether it's him, whether it's Elijah Cooks, since I see so many of our Heeligans, because of the conversation on Jaguars today that preceded us, asking about the 3rd or 4th running back spot, whether that's Jalen Jackson, throw out any host of names. I want to see one of those young guys make that flash play that says, ooh, okay, we really should be considering this guy for the 53.
Yeah, I think for me, the first one is more of a just because I feel like it would be fun moment, but I want to see Walker Little hit a 65 in the game.
Cam Little.
Cam Little. Oh my gosh. How many times am I going to do that? Or Walker. That'd be really fun.
If Walker did it, I feel like heads would explode.
That'd be really fun. Cam Little hit a 65-yard field goal. I just feel like everybody, how close he was to the really long one he had in that first game. And then in camp, we've seen him nail a ton of ones. Was it a 66 that he ended up hitting? So he can do it. And I think it would just be that moment where you're watching a game and people feel that just extra level of confidence and security of if you need that, he can do it. And I think most people believe it. But to do it in a game like this, I think would be like, whoa, he can actually hit that.
And granted, yesterday they were practicing indoors when he hit it.
Yeah.
So that may change things a little bit as far as the wind. I think that might have affected the 62-yarder.
Yeah. And then another one for me, I think, especially because we've heard that the Falcons do not play their starters and they're not going to play their starters, maybe a couple smaller pieces but to me, that dictates I want to see the defense completely shut down a backup starting offense in Atlanta then. And that's everything. I want to see the pass rush. I want to see a ton of sacks. I want to see pass breakups. I want to see the run stop. I want to see all of those things, not letting them convert any long third downs, stuff like that, because I think that you, especially against a backup, but in general, we talked this defense up so much. It should be kind of to the point now where people after this game are like, oh yeah, nobody has a chance in certain areas, and I would like to see a little bit of everything consistently. And then on the other side for the offense, kind of same for me, but more so I want to see, because I know the 17-play, forever minute-long drive that turned into a touchdown. Those are great. You're eating up the clock, but I do...
Yes, that was really lovely for those of us in the press box, hoping that game ended as quickly as possible.
That's what I was like, it's great when you want to eat up the clock and you don't want to give the ball back to the other team, but it also is fun to come back when you have the quick, hey, boop, boop, boop. You're not forced into third and long situations too much. Your offense feels like it's clicking on all cylinders. And I'm not sure that was some of the issues for me early in the season last year, is I didn't feel like it was ever that. I feel like they had to push a little in certain situations because they always got put in those third and longs, especially early. But so I'd like to see that. I'd like to see them just kind of drive down the field and using multiple weapons that we've already seen, but it not being forced until you have to convert a 3rd and 14 to see this happen.
Speaking of running the ball at inopportune times, I didn't realize this because I wasn't as tuned in to the rest of preseason week 2 last weekend until I was listening to, shout out to Mike Giardi, Will Parkinson, one of our friends here on Helmets and Heels with the All 32 podcast. I was listening to them this morning. And did you know the Panthers, despite being down a field goal with 15 seconds left, just ran the ball twice?
Oh, well, that's an interesting Panthers choice.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I guess they want to see what they have in their.
They just wanted to get out of there healthy.
Yeah.
So, shout out to Dave Canales for that. I see some of our Heeligans in the MyBookie Digital Studio saying that their first priority, the one thing they want to see Friday is health first and foremost. So maybe that's what the Panthers were going for.
Yeah, certainly. Health is what you want in every game, but certainly every preseason game, including the joint practices last week with the Bucs as well. So health is the obvious one. My three, the offensive line, run block better. We've seen the stats continually about Tank Bigsby and how well he's doing yards after contact. Well, it would be nice if he got some yards where he didn't have to take contact right away.
They were 31st so far in the preseason when it comes to those yards per carry before contact.
And yet, cue the X-Files music, RJ. As I dove into some PFF stats over the last few days. Did you know, overall grade, the Jaguars' offensive line through 2 weeks of the preseason, pass blocking, run blocking, all of that combined, 5th in the National Football League. If you don't believe me, log on to PFF, go to the premium stats, and look at the overall team numbers.
It is just, I don't know how they get all their numbers sometimes, because the one I was seeing is worst preseason offensive lines, and rush yards per contact were the Jags at 31st, and then pressure rate allowed Jags for 31st when it comes to that.
Yeah, to me, I don't need stats to know that the Jaguars haven't been able to run the ball very well in the preseason. I don't need the PFF analysis. It's what
you can see it.
Yeah, it's what our vision tells us in watching the games. So number one for me, O-line, run block better. And again, we haven't seen the starting five together yet at this point in time. And then I want to see, to our point about Brian Thomas Jr. earlier, I want to see another impressive catch. And that'll prove
Two would be nice.
That'll prove to you. Multiple catches would be great, but another impressive one, because I think the two that he's had so far have been pretty impressive. And Taylor, you mentioned Daniel Griffiths earlier from Sports Illustrated. He tweeted this out earlier today. Last season, the Jaguars' targeted receivers had an average separation of just 3.2 yards. That figure ranked 30th in the NFL. Well, again, we all watched it. We could tell that there wasn't a ton of separation, and that's certainly something that between Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis needs to improve. And then finally, I want my guy, Asezi Otomewehu, to have more sacks. He currently leads the Jaguars with 2.5, so I'd like to see more. I'd like to see him make the 53-man roster, and so the more he can do in the preseason,
you didn't learn that name for no reason.
Exactly. I learned that name, and I've been pounding the table for him. So certainly I want him to have another good game. All right, when we return, RJ Saunders has a Kuhn Flowers giveaway, so be listening on the other side for that. And also, Tom Brady ranked his top 5 quarterbacks. Is Trevor on it? We'll fill you in next on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Get your engine tuned up for Saturday night at Daytona.
Hey, boys, watch this.
NASCAR Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
At Garber Auto Mall, we can wiggle it. Best price, we can wiggle it. Best trade value, we can wiggle it. Best payment, we can wiggle it. Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. With 8 American brands, we can wiggle it. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or online at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there's always a little room for wiggle.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
Mia here. Are you ready for the ultimate college football season? Using MyBookie Sportsbook and casino platform, you can bet on every game and win anytime, anywhere, straight from your mobile device. No app needed. Just click mybookie.ag, sign up, and you're ready to rock. Did you know that the average college football game runs about 180 plays? Literally every catch, every sack, every touchdown is another way to hit pay dirt. Using MyBookie when you bet with MyBookie, you're not just watching the games, folks. You're investing in every moment of the action. I'll say it from experience. A few bucks on the line can turn any regular season game into one of the most exciting of the season. Don't forget to use promo code 1010XL when signing up in order to claim up to $1,000 on your first deposit. If you want to play the spreads and the totals, might I interest you in a 10.5-point line between FSU and Georgia Tech? Head on over to MyBookie and don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
When all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. I'm Dr. George Bari, and like me, I know you have been bombarded with PRP and stem cell treatments from companies that promise the world and charge prices to match. Or the surgeon that convinced you the only way to treat your injuries through surgery. At Bari Orthopedics, we offer the best PRP treatment on the market with prices that won't cost you an arm and a leg. We also have the expertise to treat your injury surgically, if that is what it entails. We can discuss all surgical and non-surgical options with you and make sure you get the best treatment available. Come see me, Dr. George Bari, at Bari Orthopedics.
Lauren Brooks here to tell you Mayport CNC Fisheries preseason football special. $5 off any 100-count bag or 30-pound box of oysters all preseason long. Bring football season back like a local with Mayport CNC Fisheries in Atlantic Beach.
Mortgage rates have plummeted, and Loan Pronto clients are locking in the lowest rates we've seen in years. Hey, it's Roger Moore, founder and CEO of Loan Pronto. It's happening. We are finally locking APRs in the fives, something we haven't seen for a long time. If that sky-high rate is killing you or you need to get cash out of your home equity, now is the time to take action. Or listen, even if you want to keep that first mortgage rate intact, you can take advantage of lower rates with our Equity Express line of credit. We're seeing homeowners take 50, 75, 200 grand or more out of their equity and wiping out that high-interest debt with an average savings of $850 per month. Bottom line, your home value is way up and mortgage rates have come way down, making this a great time to act. Call today for a 30-second rate quote. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 mortgage payments. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS consumeraccess.org.
Guys, feeling deflated in the bedroom? ED, low T, no energy? If your stuff is broken, call 904-STROKEN or 904stroken.com. No shots in the first treatment, now free. Fix your ED at 904stroken.com.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
Pickett here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. At Terminix, we know how to stop termites. These destructive pests have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so do we. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem? Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we won, we got to bring my thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Duval. Jaguars football is officially back. Be there for the Jaguars 2024 home opener when they go head-to-head with the Cleveland Browns. Join us as we celebrate Hispanic heritage and take the field at Everbank Stadium for the first time during our 30th season. Lock in your seats now for the 1 p.m. kick by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you back at the bank.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Me, O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. And RJ, are you feeling generous right now?
No, just kidding.
He wants that Kuhn Flowers arrangement all for himself.
Well, I mean, I'd take it too.
Oh, I would love it, but we're going to give it to a lucky listener. A floral arrangement, delivery, and courtesy of Kuhn Flowers. Be caller number 2-641-1010, and I'll hook you up.
Oh, those lines are about to go off because everybody loves Kuhn Flowers. All right, Tom Brady ranked his top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Is Trevor Lawrence one of the top 5? I'm sure most listeners would love him to be, but he's not. He has Patrick Mahomes 1. I'm going to just say duh for that.
Yeah.
And then 2, Josh Allen of the Bills. 3, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. 4, Joe Burrow of the Bengals. And 5, to me the most surprising, Aaron Rodgers of the Jets. I understand Josh Allen. I understand Lamar Jackson. I understand Joe Burrow. I might have them in a little bit different order, but I understand all of those. But Aaron Rodgers at this point?
I'm not sure he's watched in a couple years.
I would say this is a Lifetime Achievement Award, as I like to call it. And I think it's also, again, it's speaking to this idea that we are going to see 2020 Aaron Rodgers when he trots out onto the field for the Jets this year.
Wouldn't you rather have like a Justin Herbert over Aaron Rodgers?
Well, no, because what's Justin Herbert won? What's Aaron Rodgers won? Sorry,
But I
Taylor.
mean, like for just this season,
One Super Bowl.
I think I'd rather have Herbert over Rodgers because I don't know what I'm getting in Rodgers.
I mean, but Herbert's also been hurt, and outside
Yeah,
of the
a lot
Achilles
hurt.
injury, and the one season, I guess it was 2019, where Aaron Rodgers missed half the year, he's been available. That's just the reality of it. And Justin Herbert hasn't won a playoff game. Aaron Rodgers has a Super Bowl win. Now, do I think we're going to see prime Aaron Rodgers or even 2020 MVP Aaron Rodgers? I do not. Just like I don't think we're going to see the Kirk Cousins we saw at the start of last season. I think that both franchises are severely overestimating what it means for a 30-plus-year-old to come back from an Achilles tear.
Yeah.
And also banking on, well, we invested in our offensive line, which, by the way, as much as I know the Jaguars' offensive line is maligned here, hearing some of these national rankings and just personal preferences that I've heard of late, I forget who it was over the weekend, but they had the Jets offensive line top 10 in the National Football League. You do realize that they have two aging tackles who quite literally have not made it through a full season in 4 years. And they are supposed to block for a guy who's nearing 40 and could be on one leg for all we know.
I am curious, and I want to talk, obviously, how this relates to Trevor and what each of us think that Trevor has to do this season to even be considered in this top 5 list. But when we're talking about, Mia, the New York Jets, and I think there's this split narrative of there's no way that Aaron Rodgers can be that, and then yes, he can. What are your Jersey people saying? What have been their thoughts? Do they believe that Aaron Rodgers can do enough?
Oh, they've all got, both the Giants and the Jets and the Eagles fans all alike have green and white tinted glasses. They believe that, Aaron Rodgers isn't going to miss a beat because he's come off of significant injury before, never an Achilles. He's returned from...
It was a clavicle.
Correct.
Not throwing arm clavicle.
Right, but he returned, and he won he won multiple MVP awards, and so therefore this idea, well, he's just going to step right back in. I just don't see it. I don't care how good this Jets roster is on paper. Additionally, with all due respect, Taylor, he was playing in the NFC then.
Yeah.
You're playing in an AFC where if you were to rank the top 15 quarterbacks in the National Football League, 10 of the 15 minimum, if not 12 of the 15, come from the AFC. And so the level of competition is going to be so great that he's going to be required to be near perfect. Additionally, from your tangent earlier this week, I've seen defenses, whether it's here in Jacksonville, the Chicago Bears of 2018, 2019 are another prime example of, can you bank on sustaining the sort of success you had the year prior when you had the turnover margin that you did? The ball, quite simply, is not going to bounce your way that many times in consecutive years. And do I believe the Jets have a top 10 defense? I do, but I've also seen too many defenses that decay a lot quicker than the average fan anticipates.
Brock Purdy or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers.
Still? Like, with all the questions that you have?
I can't pick him.
Well, and, yeah.
But in all seriousness, I don't know. It's hard for me to even go. We talk about the injury last year, but people also forget he did not look anywhere close to what he had in previous years, even the year before. He had almost tripled his interceptions and what he had done. The touchdowns had gone way down. There was a lot of things, and granted, a lot of people were saying there's a lot of newness on the team, and maybe that's why there was a ton of young wide receivers. But then Jordan Love comes in, and all of these wide receivers are playing really well with him. But I do also think a lot of Brock Purdy's success has been so directly correlated to the 49ers and what they have roster-wise, how many weapons they have in Kyle Shanahan.
And that's the argument that was made over the weekend when Brock Purdy was playing with largely backups. We obviously know the Brandon Ayuk situation, the Trent Williams situation. And so what is Brock Purdy when he doesn't have that treasure trove of weapons around him? I understand it was a preseason game. It was also against, yes, some starters for the Saints, but let's be real, a lot of backups as well. And Brock Purdy was 2 of 6 for 11 yards.
And I just don't think, not saying he can't ever, I just don't know what Brock looks like without that,
Yeah, I just would take so many of these young quarterbacks who, yes, they don't have the resume that Rodgers does, but they're healthy. And I think there are guys, I'd take Trevor Lawrence over Aaron Rodgers for this upcoming season. I would. And so let's talk about Trevor. What are his, I guess stats is the easiest way to look at it, but what does he need to do this season? To me, everyone has Joe Burrow in their top 5 of quarterbacks. Joe Burrow has had over 30 touchdowns in 2 different seasons. He's still had around 14 or 15 interceptions those seasons. So to me, while everyone around here, yes, wants the turnovers to decrease for Trevor, it's to me just the touchdowns have to increase. And so that's, of course, a direct correlation to what we talked about in the first segment, the receivers that he has now with the speed. in BTJ and Gabe Davis. But to me, Trevor has to be somewhere in the ballpark of 30, 31, 32 touchdowns. And I really don't care as much about the interceptions as long as they're not losing games for this team.
Those 2 years, by the way, Lauren, because it's important to note, because let's be real, the other 2 years
he's been hurt.
He's been hurt, and if we're going to make that a conversation and a sticking point as far as top 5 quarterbacks go, I think it's important to note everybody and their mother, it seems like, has Joe Burrow in the top 5. And trust me, if he's healthy and you're down in the fourth quarter, outside of Mahomes, I don't know if there's another guy who I would take just because of the sheer moxie and the track record from college to the NFL. He had 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions in 2021, the year they went to the Super Bowl, 35 touchdowns and 12 interceptions the next year, in which he was hampered a little bit by injury, but largely was healthy. I think that a stat line like that would make Jaguar fans happy, because in one of those years, Joe Burrow led the Bengals to a Super Bowl, and the other one, he led them to an AFC championship game. And so I believe there's some correlation there. And so if Trevor could mirror those numbers, I think people forget about the picks because we're judged on dubs across the board.
As long as you're winning, if you throw an interception in each game, so that would be 17. Those are a little bit fewer, but nobody cares as much.
No, and I think the fumbles are what get people more, and that's from conversations with people around the league. That's the one that you can live with the interceptions. And Doug Peterson has said this as well. You can live with the interceptions because that says you're taking chances and you're not afraid to air the ball down the field. The fumbles are what has been just mind-boggling and hasn't made sense because he didn't have a fumbling issue in college largely.
And no one ever talks about that because when you pull up stats, it shows touchdowns and it shows interceptions. It doesn't have the other column for fumbles, which I think it should, because Josh Allen, who is Tom Brady's second quarterback, Taylor, he has fumbled just as much, if not more, than every other quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, he just throws a lot more touchdowns than Trevor, and that's where it comes in. To your point, I think there's two things that go into it for me, and that when you pose this question, I immediately just said the turnover ratio in general. That has to get better. To me, that's the bottom line, because if Trevor's throwing even 40 touchdowns, but he's still fumbling and throwing turnovers 25, 30 times, people are still not going to consider you as one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And I think that because when you look at Josh Allen, and it was my tangent a few weeks ago, Josh Allen had literal triple the amount of touchdowns than Trevor Lawrence, whether it's compared to his first 3 years or his last 3 years. So that, to me, is the main number that has to change. But I also think the moments that the turnovers happen has to change, because it's been in really unfortunate circumstances. It's been a lot of red zone turnovers, a lot of red zone fumbles, a lot of third and short turnovers and fumbles. And I did read a stat. I wish I was trying to find it. I can't find it. And Joe Burrows is not that whatsoever. It's in big moments, he's not turning the ball over. And that also, I think, turns the page for some people too. If you're throwing these turnovers, but it's when you're up 20 points, it doesn't ring as much as when you're throwing a turnover and you're trying to drive the team down to win.
And it's why I don't think anybody would question Josh Allen being at a top 5 ranking of quarterbacks in the National Football League. However, what did I say earlier, a minute ago, when I said in crunch time, which quarterback am I taking besides Mahomes? I'm taking Joe Burrow. And I didn't say Josh Allen, who I think a lot of people would have as the second best quarterback in the NFL right now. And I think it's largely because of the fumbles and the inconsistency when it comes to ball security. I say that, and it should be noted, as turbulent as the start of last year was for the Buffalo Bills, and as difficult as the middle of their season was with all the injuries piling up on defense, he had a career low 7 fumbles last year.
Yeah.
Comparatively to the 13 he had the year prior.
It's something they definitely focused on, and I've done podcasts because the Bears played the Bills and the Bengals, so I've done podcasts with their several people for both of those organizations, and kind of what's going on. You know, the worry of Joe Burrow is, can he still stay healthy type of thing, and then with Josh Allen, those turnovers and having to kind of hit the reset button when it comes to the weapons he's used to using over the last few years. And there's not concern in either of these organizations that these guys can be big when they need to be big. And especially, they said that was something he worked on a ton, was kind of containing those fumbles, because it really was an issue. But they also fired their offensive coordinator halfway through the season. And to me, that was a telltale of a lot of teams are too scared to do that. And that was one of the situations where, like, it worked so heavily because they were saying he was asking him to do way too much. And when you took that away, all of a sudden Josh Allen had a career year in that.
So let's put a bow on this, because I think that
I was going to ask for listeners' input. What do they think Trevor has to do?
They're sounding off. We're going to have to come back with some of these listener reactions, because we got some of you who are calling us out saying, well, you said Trevor's a top 10 quarterback. Relax. And then you've got those
First of all,
you.
we were talking about top 5. So
Correct.
That
These are
doesn't
Tom
mean he's not in
Brady's
the
top
top
5.
Right, and this is also Tom Brady's top 5.
I kind of went with, the GOAT, who's
Right.
the best who's ever played the position.
Right, I don't think there's anybody to argue that. There's also those of you defending Trevor saying that look at who he's had to throw to. But I think that 864 reminded me, we had this conversation during Trevor's second year, during that 5-game losing streak when the Jaguars were 2-6. And the argument was...
He threw the bad pick in London against the Broncos.
If Aaron Rodgers was to be on the trade block, which little did we know, later that summer he would be, would you trade for Aaron Rodgers right now? That was in 2022. That was pre-Achilles injury.
Yeah.
What would you have said in 2022?
I said no.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
You would
we
still-
know, we
I
know
said
Taylor
no.
would say no.
Well, I said no because I remember saying he was coming off one of his worst career years. I just don't think he cares as much as he did. He went on his darkness retreat and just didn't feel like he was as involved in football as he had previously. There was a lot. And so to me, it was more of those type of things. I just didn't think Aaron Rodgers cared about football the way he did previously. Maybe I'm wrong. I just, that was my vibes even then.
So I would say this. So post-Achilles injury, no, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence over Aaron Rodgers every single day because right now at this moment in time, I don't care what our contemporaries are telling us in New York. Until I see him get hit in an actual live game, I do not know how healthy he is. I know how healthy Trevor Lawrence is.
Yeah, by a 6'5", 305-pound guy rushing.
We've also already been lied to by them because he told us in December he
Correct.
could
Yes,
play,
he
and
was
now he
activated,
can't
right.
even. He's hardly ready now.
If you were to say to me pre-Achilles injury, 2022, 1 game sample, and this is even with Trevor and the Jags, the miraculous turnaround going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
In a 1 game sample size pre-Achilles injury, Trevor Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers, yes. In 2022, pre-Achilles, I would have taken Aaron Rodgers. Right now, I don't know how healthy he is.
Yeah.
And so that's why, to the question of Tom Brady's top 5, we have no argument with the 1 through 4 of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. But that number 5 is where this conversation stems from.
For sure. All right, we got to continue to talk Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. Also, some college football that might get me a little bit upset here on this Wednesday. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. At Hodges Mazda, what Mazda moves you? Find out. Lauren Brooks here. Come test drive the Mazda CX-90, engineered to fit your lifestyle. Take advantage of 1.9% APR for up to 72 months on a 2024 Mazda CX-90, the largest 3-row SUV that Mazda offers. Our professional non-commissioned sales team always puts your best interest first, and you'll get 2 years free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at HodgesMazda.com to discover the Hodges Mazda difference. See dealer for details. Terms and fees for qualified applicants expire September 3rd, 2024.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you could take advantage of a 2.99% year 1 rate. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again. Trust me, I talked to lenders from all over the country, and they said 2.99% year 1, unheard of. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Expert Automotive is ready to keep you cool this summer. Right now, get an AC inspection or a system cooling checkup. Your choice for only $19.99. Their gift to you this summer is $50 off any service and a free tire rotation with any service. Their ASE certified technicians can keep your car cool without breaking the bank this summer. Call them at 374-3373 to get an appointment today. Expert Automotive. They never sell greed, only what you need.
Lauren Brooks here. Circa Resort and Casino has an incredible all-in package for Duval in December. For only $500, tax and resort fee included, get a 3-night stay at Circa, $200 food and beverage credit, plus a day bed at Stadium Swim. With 6 temperature-controlled pools and a massive screen, it's the world's largest hot tub party. Join us Heels Friday night for a Jacksonville pep rally with specials and giveaways. To book the Jacksonville game day getaway and join the Heels in Vegas, visit circalasvegas.com today.
Prosser here. Hey, pick a news source. But the reports are home prices are expected to decline in 2025, even after the election. So you need to maximize your home sales price now before this downturn, and you can do it with the agents proven to sell for top dollar, Chad and Sandy Newman. Hey, perhaps you're worried about selling for less money with a lowball out-of-state instant offer, or maybe you want maximum equity from your home, but you're not sure how. That's why you turn to Chad and Sandy, who have the answers. No required costly repairs. Chad and Sandy are the local real estate experts I trust and recommend for the sale of your home. Tony and Maggie at Jack's Golf and Country Club said, We recently had a job transfer and we needed to sell fast. With homes in our area struggling to sell inside 100 days, we didn't know what to do. Our worries were solved when we hired Chad and Sandy. Our home sold in 3 days for one of the highest prices ever in our neighborhood at over $1 million. Call the local experts we trust, 904-414-6200 or ChadAndDSandy.com.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Roof damage? Call before you claim. Green Law Group, fighting insurance companies for you. They will work for you when you have roof damage. Don't let your insurance deny you. Don't call an adjuster. Call Green Law Group at 904-302-7055. Remember, if you have roof damage, call Green Law Group before you claim. They've settled millions and will work hard to get your claim and new roof. Green Law Group. Call before you claim. 904-302-7055.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On August 21st, 1931, Yankee slugger Babe Ruth becomes the first MLB player to hit 600 career home runs.
David Ammon here with Zero Res. So Ammon, your mom mentioned it's been a year since we did a complete house cleaning. The kitchen tile and living room floors are looking pretty dingy. It's time to call Zero Res.
That's right. Most folks know that Zero Res does an amazing job at cleaning their carpets and rugs, but they don't know that Zero Res can clean their tile and grout, LVP, and wood floors.
And right now, Zero Res is offering 25% off all hard floor cleaning. Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards,
it's the right way to clean.
Lauren Brooks here. If you're in pain and you think you've tried everything, I've got a solution for you. The team at Active Health Jacks treats the source of the problem, not just the pain, so you can avoid surgery, cortisone injections, and pain medications. I've had neck aches for years, and I've tried everything from acupunctures to massages with no results. Within minutes of my evaluation and treatment, the tension was gone. It was amazing. Active Health Jacks can help you too. Give them a call at 904-296-0202 today or visit them online at activehealthjacks.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of your water bill tripling. Are you ready to fix the drip? Call Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services. They do it all. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Good people drink good beer, and great people drink Mocama, a refined craft brewery out of Fernandina Beach, Florida. Mocama Beer Company brings sophisticated flagship beers, including Cosmico IPA and Dune Garden Lager, to the greater Jacksonville area. Whether you're hitting the water with friends or enjoying a backyard barbecue, Mocama has the perfect pair for your summer activities. Look for us wherever great beers are sold and find your Mocama.
This is Nia Lauren Stample, former Florida State National Champion and the proud owner of NLS Cleaning. Just like on the gridiron, we tackle dirt and grime with unmatched precision. Whether it's your commercial property or your residential space, we are ready to take care of your exterior cleaning needs. NLScleaning.net.
This is Dr. Steve Crenshaw, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
With one preseason game remaining before the regular season, Jaguars defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen spoke on how closely he feels the defense is ready for the regular season.
You always want to get, one play better, one game better, so we're working on the things that we see that we've got to tweak a little bit, continue to push the guys' fundamentals, the knowledge of the scheme, feel like they're doing a great job, the players, coaching staff, that combination, those guys working in the meetings, things like that, picking things up. Walkthrough was awesome today. Those guys were on top of it, really locked in, fired up about the direction that it's going in terms of the whole combination of everything. Yeah, we're going to keep pushing every day.
The Jags will finish off preseason in Atlanta against the Falcons this Friday. Sound courtesy of Jaguars.com. I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you. All right, what are the people saying when it comes to Trevor's numbers for this season to be a top 5 quarterback?
Oh, we've got some anger. We've got some defense going on. We've got some run blocking on the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line and the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Let's begin with the text line. Our good friend Bush Drive Rich says, what's Trevor's record against Josh Allen and Justin Herbert? Both quarterbacks are good, but with what they've had to work with compared to what Trevor has had for the past 3 years, you are darn right. I am taking Trevor over both any day of the week. 445 echoes those sentiments. This one's a little bit bold. I would not take anyone over Trevor. When it's all said and done, Trevor will have 2 Super Bowls and will be considered a top 5 quarterback of all time.
There you go. By the way, 2-0 against Josh Allen. Trevor is.
Yeah, and they beat Herbert in the regular season, and then
yes, 2-0 in 1 year.
Yeah,
2-0 in 1 year.
I will say though, and look, I respect that, but also if you're going to say like quarterback isn't a win-loss record isn't a quarterback stat, then you can't say Trevor Lawrence beat Josh Allen or Trevor Lawrence beat Justin Herbert.
But
that was
are
Brandon
fun stats for
Staley and
people.
whatever they are.
Yeah,
Chargers.
in the first game, did Justin Herbert play?
That's when he hurt his ribs.
He did,
yeah,
but
he had the rib injury.
Yeah, he had the rib injury the first time around, but the Jags absolutely thumped them in that game. To those of you who are on the other side of this argument, 802, Mia girl, love you, but Jets fans have tinted glasses on Rodgers, and you think Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 NFL quarterback. Who's kidding who, girl? I have said continuously throughout the summer, following the 2023 season, at this juncture, there is no doubt Trevor is top 15. Whether he's top 10 or not is beauty in the eyes of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
If he has the season we anticipate him having, that is where I say he goes back into the top 10. Because a year ago, he was in everyone's top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had a line that protected him this year, look at his stats, and that's an easy thing to do. When the Jags were 8-3, he was one of the best quarterbacks. He was a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Or as 534 points out, Ridley dropped at least 6 touchdowns. Add those to Trevor's numbers.
Yeah, but again, if he was healthy, and
So
I've
did
said
every
this
other
so many
quarterback's
times.
receivers.
Yeah, I've said this so many times, though. Joe Burrow gets almost the pass of, oh, well, he was out for the season. And Deshaun Watson, oh, well, he was out for the season. Same with Justin Herbert. Well, they lost him for the season. They didn't play through injuries to where people got to
where
see.
it significantly impacted your
Correct.
stats.
Got to see, that your stats were affected by it. And so that part frustrates me. But again, I'm always probably going to take up for Trevor because we get to watch him much closer than people around the country. Because let's be honest, how many people tune into Jaguars football if they're not a Jaguars fan? Some people do tune into Jets football even if they're not a Jets fan.
Yeah.
That's a bigger market. A lot of times the Jacksonville market gets trashed on like Levitard did.
And now that Mike Greenberg, hey, now don't take shots at Dan. Dan's my friend. Mike Greenberg now being the host of Sunday NFL Countdown means even more Jets talk for the masses.
Yeah, I do think, unfortunately, it's always going to come back to the pre-draft hype of Trevor. That's just because everybody in the nation, if you weren't a Jags fan, you were still hearing Trevor Lawrence, generational, next elite. He's going to be doing this right away. He's the most NFL-ready quarterback that's came into the NFL in a long time. So if you're hearing that for years and then you get to the NFL and you don't see that right away, that automatically is going to cloud some judgment.
And to leave one more on what does the rest of the nation think of Trevor Lawrence, I've heard from multiple people up in New York, and of course a lot of this is sour grapes because, well, quite frankly, they were left with Zach Wilson as Trevor Lawrence went number 1 overall to the Jaguars, but
that's Frank Gore. Tell them to thank
Yes, thank Frank. Don't blame us. Go out to San Francisco and thank Frank for us. This idea of, well, the Jags should be focused on, if anything else, saving Trevor Lawrence. I think that is really the national storyline, to your point, Lauren, surrounding the Jaguars. Do not let this generational talent go to waste. And so every misstep nationally is viewed as the Jaguars are wasting this generational talent, as opposed to, well, he ran a Mickey Mouse offense at Clemson, and so it was always going to take him a little bit more time to get used to an NFL-style offense. Oh, wait for it. He didn't have a head coach his first year, and there was turbulence all over the place. And so really now, this is really the first time that he's settling in, being a veteran leader, and settling into an offense, having now run it for 3 years, or 2 years, and now going into his third.
Matt Hayes and Hayes Carlin back in 2021, I guess it was, when the Jaguars knew they were drafting Trevor Lawrence, did the Trevor cast, right? And they talked to a ton of people that are very close to Trevor. And I remember, I forget which person it was because I listened to every episode, but there was someone who said the offense at Clemson that he's able to run and the weapons that he has, it's not going to be anything like what he's going to do in the NFL. And if you go back and watch those games at Clemson, you can understand what that person was saying. And again, I don't remember who it was because it's been 3 years, but it was a very honest take as to he's going to have to learn a completely different system.
Yeah.
And to Mia's point, Urban Meyer was leading the charge at that point in time. If Doug Peterson was here, I do think the conversation surrounding Trevor, if Doug was here in 2021, the conversation surrounding Trevor would be so different, and he wouldn't have had to unlearn some of the things that he had to learn. And again, I go back to last season when he wasn't practicing for several weeks.
And he needs to practice. That's another part of this.
He's not to the point of not needing to practice yet.
Correct. That's an important part of it, Lauren. That's the part that I think, again, where we'll bring it full circle to our rookie grades from yesterday. It's okay to say someone is incomplete or they're only a B or a C right now. That's not to say that is the book on them and it's over. It's okay to say even a generational talent, quote unquote, needs a little bit of time because of the transition from running a very vanilla elementary offense to now being under center and having so much going on around him and so many checks and alerts at the line and so much else going on in a West Coast style offense like the Jaguars.
I should probably have told y'all I never got anything below a B in any level of schooling my entire life. So it's hard for me to even give someone a C because I feel bad.
Neither did I, but I'm still out here giving. I mean,
not what I like to do.
I didn't like the fact that, like, now looking back on it, that was the world we lived in. I mean, not to say I didn't do work and that I wasn't like qualified and didn't earn those B's and A's, but I don't know. I feel like they should have given me more C's. It would have lit a fire under me a little bit more.
Or you just worked hard and you earned those A's and B's, guys.
Yes.
I know, because I just think that grading systems are going to be different. And that's one thing. I don't mind people having arguments that they don't feel like Trevor's a top 10 quarterback. I think there are valid arguments for that. And I truly believe that. I've heard both opposite spectrums of, and this is nationally and locally, of Trevor Lawrence. Is it you've seen everything when he's not hurt or when this, and this goes right? But you can say that about the majority of quarterbacks in the NFL. You want the offensive line to protect them. You need a run game. You need wide receivers. You need a play caller. All of those things affect every quarterback, maybe other than Patrick Mahomes. But even that, you have Andy Reid. You have a top offensive line. All of these things. And you had Tyreek coming into, you got to sit behind a quarterback. You don't have to start away. All of those things, I think, kind of factored into Patrick Mahomes being what Patrick Mahomes was. But I do think that it's okay to be a little hesitant and not say he's a top 5-6 quarterback. I like the valid arguments and opinions of it. Some people just get a little too crazy on both sides of it, in my opinion.
I'm just glad that Tom Brady, again, when we went through his list of quarterbacks, 1 is Mahomes, 2 is Josh Allen, 3 Lamar, 4 Joe Burrow, and 5 Aaron Rodgers. I'm just glad that CJ Stroud didn't find his way onto the top 5 of that list, because then I really would have been upset.
I did want it. So Kay Adams had posted this yesterday, and she said someone in the audience at FanDuel kickoff event just asked Matt Ryan to draft his ultimate dodgeball team. And so she said, all arms, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. And then she said, guess who the last one is? And I truly, in my heart, was like, it's about to be CJ Stroud. I know it, but it wasn't. It was Anthony Richardson.
No, which honestly, for that,
you'd put him
for
on
that, I would put him on that. No question.
Yeah.
Although he certainly got quite the mixed reviews yesterday from joint practices with the Bengals. Did y'all see that at all?
I did not.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it was a little ugly out there in the streets for old AR up there in Cincinnati. Let me pull up some of the quotes, thanks to Olivia Ray from, I believe it's, WLWT in Cincinnati. The Bengals defense running their mouth after a dominant day versus the Colts starters. Cam Taylor-Britt after an Anthony Richardson scramble. That's all he does is run. Ran over to the reporters and said, that's all he does is run. BJ Hill started screaming at him, throw the darn ball. Geno Stone, after a Richardson incompletion, walked over to the media and said he only throws to spots, he doesn't throw to his receivers. Ugh. AR did finish with a very nice 2-minute drill, although they didn't score on that drive. But I believe he was charted. I'm going to find the numbers here. I think it was like 2 for 11 or something like that to begin the day before that final 2-minute drill kind of made it a little bit more palatable, let's call it.
In the comments, someone was like, Anthony Richardson playing dodgeball, and it was the one Hail Mary that just went, like, sailed over the end zone. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, gosh.
if you listen to that clip, that's when Shane Matthews just starts, like, almost laughing during it. Yeah,
2 of 8 before the 2-minute drill.
I mean, look, I was shocked when Denny Thompson told everyone, and Denny was right, that Anthony Richardson was going to be drafted in the top 5 of the NFL draft. I thought there's no possible chance if you watched him in college. But look, Pete Prisco, who studied a ton of NFL football, he loved Josh Allen. He was right about him. He loves Will Levis in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That has surprised me, but he loves him, and so we'll see if that comes to fruition. And certainly the Colts fell in love with Anthony. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Obviously, down here, we hope that all 3 of the other AFC South teams are, terrible. All right, we will talk some college football, I promise, when we return. Mia's My Bookie picks come up as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL.
Have your boarding passes ready.
Jacksonville Sports Radio Mothership.
It's one small step for man.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no debate. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yo, if you've been following me on my bookie, you will know that I'm hitting for straight cash, homie. It's your boy E.T. And are you ready for the ultimate college football season? Using my bookie's sportsbook and casino platform, you can bet on every game and win anytime, anywhere, straight from your mobile device. No app necessary. Just click on the link, sign up, and you're ready to rock. Did you know that the average college football game runs about 180 plays? Every catch, sack, and touchdown is another way to hit that straight cash, homie, using my bookie. And when you bet with my bookie, you're not just watching the games, you're investing in every moment of the action. And I'm speaking from experience. A few bucks on the line can turn any regular game into one of the most exciting games of the season. So make sure you head over to my bookie. And don't forget to use promo code TentonXL when signing up to claim that $1,000 bonus on the first deposit. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with my bookie. Come on, somebody.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
At Honda, we appreciate all the comparisons to other vehicles. And no matter how many times they compare their vehicles to a Honda, only a Honda is a Honda. Remember, value, quality, safety. There is no substitute. Visit your local Honda dealer now and experience the difference.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Regular strength training is key to maintaining muscle mass. Like muscle building, you need to stress the muscle to maintain strength. This means lifting enough weight and doing enough reps to the point where it's too hard to do one more. Yoga and Pilates are also lower impact muscle building workouts that help maintain lean body mass and improve flexibility. Let's get moving, Jacksonville.
AC replacement? If your AC unit is ready to go kaput, then it's time to call Florida Home AC. With over $3,000 in tax credits waiting for you on select systems, take advantage of it. Call 777-4300. Get Florida Home AC to cool you off.
It's Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
What presidents are on Mount Rushmore? The answer next.
Hurricane season is here, and now is the time to ask your agent about your homeowner's coverage. It's time to make the change to Southern Oak Insurance.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
George Washington, Abe Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and Teddy Roosevelt are sculpted on Mount Rushmore.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hacker here with a new opportunity for you. The 20-pound summer slim down with Awaken 180 weight loss. Dropping 20 pounds before summer ends, cruising to your goal of 30, 40, 50-plus pounds down. It's simple. You take the last few weeks of summer, eating, drinking, enjoying the weather, but the difference? You're doing it with the 20-pound summer slim down. But you say, Hack, summer's almost over. Well, that's the point. The pounds melt off fast with Awaken 180. I dropped my first 20 in less time, and that easy 20 propelled me to reach my goal of losing over 85 pounds. Think about it. You're about to slide back into the same old fall routine with the same old mindset. Mix it up. Live up the rest of your summer while dropping the first 20. Then jump into fall with a whole new groove. Yeah, I said it, and you'll be saying it too in just a few weeks. 20-pound summer slim down with the solution for weight loss. Online, awaken180weightloss.com.
Homeowners, good news for you. Accent on 4. Listen up. Loan Pronto now has mortgage rates that start with a 4. Prosser here. It's true. Mortgage rates have plummeted. So low, we haven't seen them in a long time. If your current rate is over 6%, you can dump it and lower your house payment big time. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.99% APR. So whether you got your loan last week, last month, or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto. Even if you're in process with another lender, stop now. Call Loan Pronto. Ask about their zero-cost rate reduction home loan. You can lock in a lower rate with no closing costs in a matter of days, with almost no paperwork and usually no appraisal. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call now. Loan Pronto can give you a rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Call 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Owner approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Gators top running back Montrell Johnson Jr., who led the team in rushing yards for the second straight season last year, underwent minor knee surgery earlier this month and is still recovering and questioning if he'll be ready for the Gators season. Head coach Billy Napier recently gave an update on Montrell.
Montrell's doing fantastic, right? He's been able to do a few things. We expect him to be able to participate in practice, whether that's modified and at some point full speed. But we'll give you updates per the timeline up until the game. But we have confidence that Montrell's doing great and feel good about his return.
Montrell participated in Saturday's warm-ups and left the field once individual drills began. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp fell last night to the Nashville Sounds in series opener 9-5. They'll meet again tonight for Game 2 with first pitch at 7:35. It's 87 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
We promised you we'd talk some college football, so let's do it. We'll kick things off with a little MyBookie wager action.
Now, Mia's midday MyBookie picks. Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.
That's right, Lauren. College football is here, and I have already placed this one, the video version, going to go live momentarily on the 1010XL social video channels. A little parlay action. We got 3 games on the docket for this Saturday, August 24th. Here are my picks. Let's begin with the biggie at noon. Florida State taking on Georgia Tech. There we go, RJ. Get that music bumping. Florida State, Georgia Tech, a 10.5-point line. Florida State wins. Give me the Yellow Jackets to cover 10.5. Brent Key, Haynes King. We talked about it earlier this week, ladies. They ended the season strong. You couple that with a new quarterback for Florida State, new wide receivers. I'm not saying the Noles ain't going to get the win, but I'm saying it could be a little bumpy, and I kind of like that hook of 10.5 points.
That line has decreased from, I think it started
14.
Yeah, 14, and then it went down to 13.5, and then 11.5, and now 10.
This is after a DJ camp.
That and money's coming in on Ja Tech, and I think it's because Haynes King, we forget how heralded a recruit he was once upon a time. And yes, it's been a long, winding road, but Brent Key's got something cooking up in the ATL.
Speaking of the Seminoles, the roundtable is now live.
Yes, it is.
I meant to say that the other day that the Gators one is live, and it's fantastic. The Seminoles one is also live, and I'm sure also fantastic. I'll listen to that later with Rick Ballou and Todd Fordham and Niles
Simmons.
Samples. Yeah.
I'm butchering Niles' name. We love you, Niles. 1010XL Seminoles YouTube channel for that roundtable. Montana State facing the New Mexico Lobos on Saturday afternoon. That line, 11 points. I like Montana State to cover 11 points. Give the FCS crowd some love. But that Lobos plus 340 is a little spicy. A couple of Duval kids on that New Mexico roster as well. So I could be a little swayed to maybe play with some house money. Plus 340 for the Lobos on the money line. And finally, SMU, a team that I think 1010XL has done a pretty good job this week as we've looked at the ACC as a whole, given a little bit more love to than I think the nation is, ladies. I understand they're coming into the ACC. I know that's weird to say still, but they are. They were 11-3 last year. The offense firing on all cylinders. They bring a lot of guys back. And so I actually am going to go with the over on a 56.5 total between SMU and Nevada. The Wolfpack on Saturday. Again, that total is 56.5. I have parlayed all three of those together. That is plus 10.5 Georgia Tech, minus 11 Montana State, and the over 56.5 between SMU and Nevada. That pays out at about 5 times what you put down. I put down $100. That's plus 523 in a parlay form. That's about $523. So make sure you head on over to mybookie.ag and you play as well. And don't forget about the MyBookie Casino, too. Mybookie.ag, now in its 10th year.
Niall Lawrence Sample.
It is.
Niall Lawrence Sample. When I look at SMU's schedule last season, though, the games that they played against, I would say, contenders, like in Oklahoma, loss 28-11. TCU lost 34-17. Some of the bigger games they did lose. So that is going to be fascinating to see. How does SMU do in the ACC? Not, of course, like the greatest conference in all of college football. Obviously, SEC, Big Ten would argue that they are the best. I'm going to say the SEC is. But either way, it's going to be interesting to see how all of these teams, now that realignment has happened in so many of these conferences, how they do. All right, so
September 28th, Florida State plays them, too.
Yes.
So it's a little glimpse at what the Noles can expect in about a month, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been excited for this Saturday for so long now. It's one of my favorite things. This happened a few years ago when FSU played Georgia Tech, too. When FSU plays and Florida doesn't. So you get the college football on TV that you don't have to stress about whatsoever. Like, I will have low blood pressure on Saturday. It doesn't matter to me, obviously, who wins as far as my team is concerned. And so I get to just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that time I'm talking about, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years ago, Georgia Tech beat FSU. So it happened recently, but that's going to be so much fun.
I think it was 3, yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 years ago.
I know there are
one back-to-back.
Yeah,
openers.
there are some concerns in my family about how late the ceremony and the reception are for my sister's wedding on Saturday. I am not one of those people who is upset because as much as I'll be getting my hair and makeup done at that time, pretty nice, 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I've got a nice little open window. So I'm like, hey, all right, I can actually watch the game even if, I'm supposed to be like taking pictures and all that good stuff.
Hey, gotta have the TV on. All right, so speaking of my team, aka the Florida Gators, I looked at USA Today's re-rank and I sent this to y'all. And here's what makes me angry. I understand Florida's not a top 25 program. That totally makes sense. And I'm not going to argue that point right now. Florida has a game week 1 against Miami. Who is a top 25 team. Florida can prove whether or not it deserves to be in the top 25. But to rank Florida 59th behind schools like James Madison, Toledo, Troy, Rutgers, Coastal Carolina, and Tulane, are you telling me right now that if Florida lined up against Troy or Rutgers, that Florida would not win those football games with a returning quarterback?
Some people think Rutgers could win 7 games this year, but I'll be quiet on that front.
But Florida's going to beat those programs. Florida's going to beat Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, and that's where like the college football rankings I feel like are always interesting because to me this is almost just their schedule. They're looking at the Florida schedule and who they have to play, and they're like, there's no way that they're going to be able to win more games than those teams, so those teams are going to be ranked higher, even though if they went head-to-head, Florida would probably win.
And that's how I'll never do a ranking like that, predicting where they're going to be at the end of the season. Right now, it's how do these rosters stack up? Florida has more 5-stars than, again, James Madison, Toledo, Troy, Rutgers, Coastal Carolina, and Tulane. How many 5-stars does Rutgers have? Right?
I think 1.
Okay, so there we go.
But, I mean, James Madison also is a sexy pick to be the Group of 5 champion as well in the college football playoff, which we'll get to our college football playoff predictions here in just a little bit. Unfortunately, Lauren, this is going to be the knock on Florida because of how last season finished. I know it's been said time and time again. The boys, Denmark and Marsh, if you haven't listened to their Gator podcast from Monday, I thought it was excellent. A rebranding of that is coming soon, by the way, so stay tuned for that. They did a great job of explaining. If not for how Arkansas finished and how the Mizzou game finished, this is a 7-5 outfit, And it is a completely different narrative nationally. Just like we were talking about the national narrative surrounding Trevor Lawrence, the national narrative surrounding the Gators. Just like if the Jags beat the Titans, and even if they get beat the brakes off of them by the Browns in the first round of the playoffs, no one is talking about them in the same light as they are today. And it's the same thing with Florida because of how those two games ended in particular and the image of two number 3s on the field week 1 and then it coming back to haunt you on a special teams blunder later in the season. That is why you are ranked 59th right now, coupled with the fact that the schedule is as difficult as it is.
The Jaguars knew that they had issues on defense. So what did they do? They fired Mark Caldwell and they brought in Ryan Nielsen. And from what we've seen so far, that's working wonders. We'll see again week 1 against the Dolphins. Florida, Billy Napier recognized that two massive areas where Florida struggled last season. One was the defense. It was historically bad yet again. Another season, 2 years in a row. And then special teams. So he went and he hired another defensive coordinator. He kept Austin Armstrong, but hired Ron Roberts away from Auburn. And then he hired a special teams coordinator away from the Patriots and realized that those were holes in his game. So to me, there has to be optimism even from the outside of Gator fans, thinking that those two areas will have been improved and have been fixed, or at least that's what they're going to think at this point in time until we see another glaring issue.
Yeah.
So that's where it's just, to me, a year ago, you didn't know what Graham Mertz was going to be at Florida, and everybody hated, other than Frank Frangie, every single person panned that signing, or that, signing of him.
And a certain quarterback
Wisconsin.
who's a part of the Gator Roundtable each and every year.
Right. And so that's where I understand a year ago having that thought process. But now you've seen Graham Mertz with one of the highest completion percentages, the second highest in all of college football last season, and yet there's still no love.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I think it comes just fully back to the schedule and what they believe that this Florida roster and how quickly can those big glaring issues that the defense has had, not just last season, but previous to last season, be fixed, and we've talked a lot about Billy Napier and how he believes this is the deeper the roster has been, the deepest and most experienced the roster has been in a while. And so we see that closely, and we see that maybe the changes are something that had to be done either way. The way, those in-game mistakes cost them, and you can't have that happen in back-to-back years. But maybe there's just not as much confidence that in one season those things will be completely changed. But for me, I think most of it just comes down to what their schedule looks like and who they have to play. If they were playing, if it looked like if they were in one of these other conferences, if they were in the ACC, I don't think they would be, and had an ACC schedule, I don't think it would be 59th ranked Florida Gators.
And I think people, when it comes to the transfer portal, they pay attention to the losses more than the gains. And so they see Trevor Etienne go to Georgia, and they see Princely Uman-Mielen go to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But they don't look at the guys that Florida has
offensive
added.
linemen go to Florida State.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
And Richie Leonard going to Florida State. They focus more on that. And look, like I said, at the top, Florida has a chance to prove all of these doubters wrong. If Billy Napier wants his team to be in the top 25, win week 1, and I guarantee you'll be at least near the top 25.
We had this conversation yesterday when we talked about the WNBA game between Seattle and Indiana. Okay, you're upset. All right, be better.
Yeah.
Don't lose. Like, I mean, or at the very least, look like a functional outfit, and then you will get that respect that you clamor for. And I don't know. It's again, what is the standard for Florida? Mm-hmm. That is what this season will tell us, not just for what Billy Napier and Scott Strickland believe the standard is, what the fan base believes the standard is, what those players believe the standard is. This is the year, because Billy has said these are all his guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've got all your guys. So there's one more excuse thrown out the window. If you can at least look operational and sound and not be taking a knee, or rather not taking a knee like Miami did once upon a time, not having two number 3s on the field, then that says to me, okay, at the very least, low bar to clear, we've gotten past that. Now can you see the competitive nature? And will he have the time, and will he be given the time to take that next step if this is to be the slow build that Billy wants to slowly build in a traditional fashion?
How quickly does that narrative change if Florida beats Miami week 1? Do you think there'll still be a group of people that are like, well, maybe Miami isn't what we thought Miami was going to be?
There will be that conversation, but it'll also be 2 years ago in Billy Napier's first game, Florida beat Utah. And even though that was pretty much a lucky thing because Cam Rising threw a pick very late in the fourth quarter of that game, but still, you win, or win is a win. people are not going to know how to judge it until we get to later in the season, because last year even, yes, you had the mistakes against Utah and Florida offensively looked atrocious in that game, but then you turn around and Florida beats Tennessee when Tennessee was expected to be, one of the better teams in the SEC. And so the roller coaster ride of every team, I'm sure, other than Florida State last season, who didn't lose a football game, and Georgia didn't lose a regular season game, but every other fan base, for the most part, has those ups and downs.
Since we just brought up the Canes, and this clip just popped up in my Twitter timeline, according to Emery Hunt of CBS Sports, I'm not sure which CBS Sports program this is on CBS Sports Network, but he just said, Miami can go undefeated. You heard it here first. And he believes that Cam Ward is a Heisman candidate. I should take that back because we've had this actually happen a couple of times, and we've had it happen at Miami. The idea of it could go one way or another, and there's no in between. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I believe Florida's either starting 5-0 or they're going to be 1-4, and Billy is on the hottest of hot seats. I feel the same way when it comes to Miami. It's either going to be a blaze of glory or a dumpster fire. There is literally no in between right now for both of those programs.
Well, at the end of the day, it's to Taylor's point about the schedule. Miami's schedule sets up a lot easier for Miami to start off the season undefeated. Other than the game in the Swamp to kick things off, then Miami hosts Florida A&M, Ball State, at South Florida, plays host to Virginia Tech, and then at Cal.
Right. Their next hardest game is Florida State.
Right. So that's a way easier path, certainly, than Florida. I don't agree. I don't think Florida's either 5-0 or 1-4 with just the one win against Samford. But
I don't even know if it's going to be Samford, by the way, but that's okay.
If Florida doesn't beat Samford, then like I said yesterday, I hope Ryan Day and Ohio State lose to Michigan, and Ryan Day makes his way to Gainesville if that happens. All right, when we return, Taylor has a tangent. Also, we do want to run through Brett McMurphy's college football projections as far as the college football playoff, because he has some interesting choices. All that and more, you're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. He's not a night owl, but he does come out at night. Terrifying! Hacker After Dark. All the sports talk and hot topics you need to know about. Live and local, even late night. After Rick Ballou, evenings on 1010XL.
Mia here. Are you ready for the ultimate college football season? Using MyBookie Sportsbook and casino platform, you can bet on every game and win anytime, anywhere, straight from your mobile device. No app needed. Just click the link on mybookie.ag, sign up, and you are ready to rock. Did you know that the average college football game runs about 180 plays? Literally every catch, every sack, and every touchdown is another way to hit pay dirt using MyBookie. When you bet with MyBookie, you're not just watching the games, folks. You're investing in every moment of the action. I'll say it from experience. A few bucks on the line can turn any regular season game into one of the most exciting of the season. Be sure to check out those 3 lines I just ran through with my MyBookie midweek picks between Florida State, Georgia Tech, SMU, Nevada, and of course, Montana State and the New Mexico Lobos. And don't forget to use that promo code 1010XL when signing up to claim up to $1,000 on your first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL only with MyBookie.
Well, all the news forecasts say that home prices are expected to decline in 2025. Hey, that's great if you're buying a home. But if you're selling one, you might want to get to it. And when it comes to selling your home, the agents you should trust are Chad and Sandy Newman at chadandsandy.com. Maybe you want maximum equity from your home, but you're not sure how. And you don't want to worry about costly repairs or upgrades needed to sell your home. Those things are all out with Chad and Sandy. They're the local real estate experts you can trust, and I recommend for the sale of your home, or for the sale of mine for that matter, maybe I should look into it. Hey, don't trust me. Trust Jacqueline from Biscayne Estates. My inherited home became a nightmare when it went unsold for 177 days and ended up with a large lien. With expenses mounting for my handicapped daughter and no way to pay, I was desperate. At this point, I turned to Chad and Sandy. The change was amazing. Chad and Sandy sold my home in 3 days at a higher than asking price. Find out for yourself at chadandsandy.com or 904-414-6200.
At Hodges Mazda, what Mazda moves you? Find out. Lauren Brooks here. Come test drive the Mazda CX-90, engineered to fit your lifestyle. Take advantage of 1.9% APR for up to 72 months on a 2024 Mazda CX-90.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Helmets and heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Hon, what do you say we go to the supermarket today?
Again? Weren't we just there yesterday?
Well, yeah, but it's just so nice and cool in there.
Why don't we just get our air conditioning fixed?
Can we afford it?
We can with Duck Duck Air Conditioning. They offer financing.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it will be.
Beat the Florida heat with Duck Duck Air Conditioning. Jacksonville area's AC experts. Repairs to new installations. Trust the Duck to keep your cooling costs low. DuckDuckAC.com.
When the sun goes down, you might think a golf course shuts down, but not at the Golf Club of Southampton. Join the gang every Thursday night for trivia with Brooke and Jason, and everybody's favorite night, Friday night on the patio, featuring local musicians, food, and drink. It's all at the Golf Club of Southampton. Great golf. You've come to expect that. But don't forget, when night falls, the fun doesn't stop. Trivia every Thursday night and Southampton's live music patio session Fridays. Call 287-PLAY to make a tee time and the good time.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
The drill takes you inside the ropes with PGA Tour insiders on Brunch with the Tour.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be.
Tuesday morning at 8:30.
Brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
When my wrist pain was acting up and I needed help, I took Dan Hickens' advice and headed over to see the experts at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. This is Stuart Moore with the PGA Tour. I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whenever you have a need, they took great care of me. They'll take great care of you.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. The next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and it is hot out there. You know that, Greg. But Honda has a plan for you on or off the road.
They do. There are a ton of Honda scooters, Honda mini motos, great for the beach. Also get you out in the woods with a Honda side-by-side. Plenty to do and stay cool.
Yeah, four-wheelers, and you can trick them out.
We can. From stereo systems to big builds, we do it all.
Everything's there for you to see. CyclesOfJacksonville.com online or on Atlantic near Regency. Check out Cycles of Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels.
Illuminated by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Mia Taylor, RJ. I'm Lauren Brooks. All right, let's get it to today's tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I'm going to start this off by saying, don't get mad at me and listen to the full thing.
Okay.
Listen to the full thing.
Are you talking to us or listeners or
everybody?
Both? Okay.
Everybody.
Don't get mad at Taylor.
Listen to the full thing before, because there's going to be the beginning that you're not going to like, but it gets better. So be patient. So I was taking a look, actually, Demetrius Harvey posted this earlier from one of the stat pages, and they were taking a look at the quarterback man coverage stats from 2023. And so when you look at Tyson Campbell, originally the stat analysis was literally just from something called Stat Account, but they used one of the charts that kind of chart throughout all the cornerbacks throughout the league in 2023. Let me see the minimum snaps so we can say that. 395 coverage snaps and 65 man coverage snaps. So just to give a reference, it's one of the ones that are on the field a lot. But so it goes through and it's grading these cornerbacks around the league last year. And the two axis, one is yards allowed per coverage snap. The other is passer rating allowed per coverage snap also. And so Tyson Campbell last year, season long numbers. Let me start with there. Season long. We know he got banged up later in the year. So not good. When it just takes all of his numbers throughout the season, he was one of the worst in the league in yards allowed per coverage snap. Only Byron Murphy in Minnesota and Darian Kendrick in LA were even close to that. And then he was also one of the worst in passer rating allowed. I actually think he was the worst. It's kind of the chart. There's somebody very close, somebody out of Miami that was very close, but one of the worst. He's in the bottom left corner of the chart where you do not want to be on this specific graph. This is out of 71 corners last season. But Demetrius Harvey commented and was like, can you please do weeks 1 through 6? And makes sense because you want to see Tyson when that defense was playing good, before Tyson started getting banged up, when things were kind of flowing a little bit better on that side of the ball. So when you do that, it shows the massive difference that Tyson Campbell's injury and just in general, I think some of the other factors that were coming into the defense starting to fall off all started to affect certain things. But the numbers with that, if you look at just those weeks 1 through 6, Tyson sits around 12th or 13th best corner in the league when it comes to in the yards per coverage snap. So going from 69th, 70th to 12th. And he goes, so it's still not probably exactly where you want to see him when it comes to the passer rating allowed, but he was still around league average. So he still was going from 71st, dead last in the league, to around 34th, 35th. So to me, that was just, when I saw this chart at first, because I saw the first one and I was like, whoa, Tyson, that's kind of crazy. But then when I saw Demetrius ask for those weeks 1 through 6, and that just shows how drastically different he played healthy and unhealthy.
And that is where you said 12th or 13th best?
Yeah.
That is where, number one, the bet that Trent Baalke and company are hedging is that with Ryan Nielsen, with Chris Richard, that development takes him into the top 10. And additionally, when all is said and done, a year from now, once his good friend Patrick Surtain out in Denver gets paid or traded wherever he ends up, whenever the next crew of that 2021 draft class of corners gets paid, Tyson will be the 11th or 12th highest paid corner in the National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what he is when healthy, and that's what you eventually, lo and behold, ended up paying him,
and that's what they were paying him for.
Right.
Healthy Tyson.
That's a win for both sides.
Yeah.
That's a win for both sides. And I think that that is a prime example of when we have said ad nauseum here on the Superstation, you're paying him because when he's healthy, he's a top 15 corner.
Yes.
That illustrates it perfectly.
Yes.
Look, Tyson Campbell is in the same conversation, I think, as we just had with Trevor Lawrence. When healthy, is one of the best at his position.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyson obviously has talked about that. When he suffered that hamstring injury, there's not a lot of other injuries that you can really play through.
Yeah.
Soft tissue ones are where it's a very fine balance there of, is it good enough to keep up with those super speedy receivers? And that's another thing that I do think having Brian Thomas Jr. here has been able to push these defensive backs.
Yeah.
They haven't seen speed like he has had. The Bucs certainly told us that last week, that their cornerbacks were blown away by how fast he is, literally. And so having BTJ there to push these guys, I think that's incredibly helpful because that forces them to see speed like a Tyreek Hill has day in and day out.
Yeah. And I want to list some of the ones that when I said that he's around 12 when it comes to that yards allowed per coverage snap, just some of the names, those 10, 11 names that are ahead of him on this list are all names that I think most people would consider the better corners in the league. And this is a Sauce Gardner. This is a Keyshawn Nixon, Trent McDuffie, Denzel Ward, Jalen Johnson, Brian Branch, Michael Carter, Deron Bland, Pat Surtain, Asante Samuel. Those are some of those names in front of him. And so if you are, and he's barely behind those when it comes to those yards allowed. So if you are in company with names like that, then yes, you deserve the contract that you just got.
Yeah, and he was, by the way, the 6th cornerback taken in that 2021 NFL draft.
Yeah.
Surtain was the first one, then J.C. Horn, Asante Samuel out of Florida State, Greg Newsome, Caleb Farley, and then Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, a couple of busts there, but also a couple of guys who are going to be paid handsomely if they haven't already. Yeah. To the Healigan, who was asking where Ronald Darby ranked in those rankings, he's not showing up on this plot chart from
Probably
what I
didn't
can
have
see.
enough snaps.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Trey Herndon did pop up.
I did. And
Question mark?
Not good.
And I was like, how does Trey Herndon qualify, but Ronald Darby, who missed all but one game, doesn't qualify. But yeah, we'll keep looking. I don't see him on here though.
Yeah, I'll browse and see if I can see it also.
It looks from my very quick surmising here that Darby had 555 snaps last season, so he should have qualified.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't. I don't know. Just didn't put him on there.
Yeah, that's I think been probably the biggest change as far as Jaguars fans have had about a player to this point this season.
Yeah,
is Ronald Darby absolutely cannot start opposite Tyson Campbell. The Jaguars have to draft a corner in the first round of this draft. To now, wow, Ronald Darby and Tyson Campbell, and then whoever they decide to put in at nickel, whether it's Darnell Savage, whether it's Christian Braswell, whether it's Jarian Jones, that's actually a formidable group. They've done a complete 180.
Oh, and by the way, there's been enough flashes in camp from Jarian Jones and DeAndre Prince that you say, you know what, even if Ronald Darby's here only a year and he's a stopgap, or if he rides out the duration of this 2-year contract because he performs admirably this year, you say, all right, well, the successor is waiting here in the wings, and he's been in Chris Richard's pipeline for 2 years, 1 year, whatever it ends up being. And yes, that narrative has completely flipped on its head. And again, we don't see Ronald Darby on this stat. We could pull up some other stats, I'm sure, during the next break. We want to get back to college football here briefly.
Yep.
But I do think that for those of you still asking why was Darius Williams let go in favor of Ronald Darby, in favor of these young guys, Darius Williams, age 30, more of a zone corner, cost $10 million. And if you're saying, you know what, we want to reset with a bunch of young man corners who we develop in our own likeness and pair them with a veteran guy who Doug knows and who we know can play man defense and who thrived in a Baltimore system that is the apple of nearly everyone in the National Football League's eye, then that is the route they chose, just I think for the longevity and the long-term play.
For sure. All right. Mia did say we'll get back to college football. Does Brett McMurphy have Florida State in his college football playoff projections? We will let you know on the other side on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Right now, they're on their way to ruin your day. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. And if you're not prepared, you will suffer. Yes, it's that time of the year. Heat and humidity are attacking North Florida. But help is at hand. Call Mike Merritt's Heating and Air Conditioning. Mike Merritt has a license to chill and lets you maintain your comfort zone at a bargain price. How? Mike Merritt stands ready to help, routine or emergencies. And Mike Merritt knows emergencies can happen at any time. So with Mike, there's never any overtime charges. And Mike's team works without commissions. Merritt will never try to sell you parts you don't need. You can't trust just anyone with a truck. Call Mike Merritt, the company North Florida has trusted for 35 years. Call today. License number CAC 050384.
Mia here, and it's the sale that's sweeping the nation. It's the national sales event, and it's going on now at Arlington Toyota. Why shop the national sales event at Arlington? 2 words for you. Huge selection. Arlington's lot is packed with new Toyotas in stock in one location. But you ask Mia, is now really the right time to buy? Let me put your mind at ease thanks to Arlington's 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new Toyota purchase or exchange it for one that you do. Worried about financing? There's the Arlington Credit Helper. You even get a complimentary car wash with every service. And did I mention, customers love Arlington. There's a 4.7-star rating and over 20,000 Google reviews online right now. I feel the love for sure, and you will too when you shop with our friends at Arlington Toyota. Don't wait. Now through September 3rd, shop the national sales event at Arlington Toyota. In person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Are you looking for an easy way to feed your friends and family this summer? Let your local Chick-fil-A restaurant cater your next gathering. Choose from a variety of trays, including a Chick-fil-A nugget trays, mac and cheese, and, of course, gallons of Chick-fil-A tea and lemonade, perfect for a get-together of any size. Place an order through the Chick-fil-A app online or by calling ahead and pick it up at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant, or get it delivered directly to your door. Enjoy more of the summer season with your loved ones when you take cooking off your plate with Chick-fil-A. See restaurant for details.
This is Tony Baselli, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I was known for protecting our quarterback. These days, I'm extending that protection to a different arena, your home. I have partnered with Heritage Roofing of North Florida, your premier local roofers with over 25 years of experience. Heritage is your go-to roofer for hurricane preparation, with same-day inspections and estimates. They also work with all insurance companies. Let Heritage Roofing of North Florida safeguard your home and family. Visit heritagenfl.com for your free estimate today.
State license CCC 1335410.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Daytona always brings the drama.
Everything's on the line. The risk will be higher.
3 wide.
Look how insane this is.
Gunning to keep playoff hopes alive. It's now or never.
It's the most stressful night of racing that you'll ever go through.
For an unforgettable weekend of family fun, high wattage star power, and a front row seat full of fireworks. NASCAR weekend at Daytona International Speedway, August 23rd and 24th. Get your tickets now at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
When you want to be heard, send your opinion to the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures.
Thank you for believing in me when the bosses didn't give me a chance.
641-1010. No texting and driving. Get your thoughts heard on 1010XL.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Mike Dempsey here for the 20-pound summer slim down with Awaken 180 weight loss. Drop 20 pounds before summer ends and cruise into fall with a new routine of better health. Do what I did and find your results with the solution for weight loss at awaken180weightloss.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars safety Darnell Savage, who is known for his versatility on the field, met with the media yesterday at training camp and commented on rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas's junior height and speed.
He's an easy runner. I mean, he's so tall. You know what I'm saying? You don't really, realize how tall he is. I think BT's what, 6'3", somewhere around there. So he just kind of glides when he runs. You know, he's got them long strides, so it doesn't really look like he's digging, but he's covering ground. I mean, this league is full of great athletes, tall runners, short runners, so he's definitely got a unique skill set as far as being that tall and being able to cover that much ground and kind of, just get on top of the defense. It's good. It's good for him to see us, and it's good for us to see him, too.
Sound courtesy of Jaguars.com. I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars Update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Let's see, besides learning that it's after 8 o'clock, folks, at night. Don't be doing work stuff. Trust me. It's only bad things are going to come. You're going to get your company's Twitter account suspended for dumb reasons. Nothing salacious, folks. Just be careful. Don't click too many clicks on the old internet machine. Other takeaways for me, 59th for the Florida Gators. Look, I know there are those of you out there who think I've been the biggest Gator hater of them all. I'm not. I told you, I love Graham Mertz and his avocado toast. I did a 180 on the kid once I met him in person, once I saw what a sharp cat he is. I understand what Billy Napier is building. While I think it's antiquated in 2024, that's not to say it isn't admirable and it hasn't been proven to work in other locales. But 59th, I mean, look, now we're just out here mining for clicks, folks. So to whoever came up with that ranking that had Lauren fired up, do better. And I do not believe Florida will be 59th. If they are, woo, we got bigger issues down here in the great state of Florida.
I'm going to go back to our first segment when we were talking about what Trevor Lawrence has to do to be talked about as a top 5 quarterback. And the words that I've used, or the word I've used a lot this offseason, is ratio. And that is that turnover to touchdown ratio has to change, that it needs to get farther apart. You cannot have an equal amount of touchdowns or very close to equal amount of touchdowns as you have turnovers. Nobody's going to consider you a top 5 quarterback if that's what your numbers look like. I do think it's possible. I think there is a lot of situations in the past couple years that maybe he felt like he had to play hero ball in certain moments and force some things, and I don't think you'll have to do that with the weapons that the Jags have now. Obviously, you're hoping the offensive line is better. I've still voiced my concern there, but we are hoping that improves, so that helps, which we've seen the run game. We want to see, as you talked about, Lauren, the run game before contact get better, but it's nice to have someone like Tank who's showing you that you can still get those yards after contact. You have that back now. So I do think some of these things will factor into it, but that number to me has to get better if we're going to be talking about Trevor being one of the best in the league.
Yeah, I'll reiterate. Florida can beat James Madison, Toledo, Troy, Rutgers,
maybe not
Coastal
James
Carolina,
Madison,
and Tulane. I would put money down on Florida beating all of those programs. Florida's not as good as Georgia. I understand that. Florida's not as good as Alabama or Ole Miss at this point in time. But Florida could beat all of those teams. All right, let's get it to, speaking of college football, Brett McMurphy's projected college football playoff field. He agrees with me. I do think Oregon will win the Big Ten, not Ohio State, because of the quarterback. He's got Oregon winning the Big Ten, not Georgia winning the SEC. That I disagree with. He's got Alabama winning the SEC. What do you think about those first two?
Let's begin with, I don't know. I agree with the sentiment of Alabama will be better than people are giving it credit for. Do I believe Alabama is winning the SEC? No, I do not, because I do believe that Georgia right now, if only on paper and if only if fully healthy and everyone is available, is the best team in college football. Now, I say that because Ohio State is second because of, as you noted, Lauren, the all-important quarterback position. With that said, when I look at Ohio State's schedule, yes, they do have to go out to Eugene. That's going to be tough sledding for sure. But I can't help but get away from, if this Ohio State team doesn't win the Big Ten, of course, doesn't win the game at the end of their regular season, then they're
the game against the school up north.
Correct. Ryan Day is going to be out of a job. And it's that simple. This has to be the year for him to beat Michigan and to also win the Big Ten outright.
So you've got Ohio State winning the Big Ten?
Yes, I would have Georgia. I would have
yeah.
Georgia 1. I would have Ohio State 2. And then I would have both of those teams in the field of my 12-team playoff, yes.
What have you heard so far about Jalen Milroe this offseason? Because I've heard a little bit of concerns coming out.
I have too.
Okay.
Yes, I've heard a lot of concerns, especially from those who were at the Manning Passing Academy.
Okay.
Multiple people that had concerns about him there. I just maybe have this blind faith in Kalen DeBoer to see what he did with Michael Penix. And granted, that was over the course of multiple years at both Indiana and Washington. And perhaps that's me buying into the quarterback whisperer ideology too much, that one play caller and one coach can change everything for a player. I just can't help but get away from, in terms of raw athleticism. If we're going to say Anthony Richardson's going to take the next step, and I'm not saying they're in the same cylinder because they're not, but if we're going to say based on sheer athleticism, Anthony Richardson has this high ceiling and could take the next step this year, I don't understand why we can't say that at the college level for Jalen Milroe.
Yeah. And another one interesting when we're talking about the Brett McMurphy rankings too, and one of the major things that I think popped out to most people was Texas not being on here. I feel like all we talked about for 3 months was Texas, Texas, Texas. And then now I've slowly seen a lot of people start to fall out and kind of even start talking about Quinn Ewers a little bit less than what they were 3 months ago.
Yeah, the interesting part with Alabama to me is because of the receivers, whether it be drafted or transferring out of Alabama to other schools, for instance, FSU for one of them, that's going to be fascinating. How does Milroe go along with guys like Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, and they have a transfer, Jeremy Bernard as well. But like normally, you know the names of the Alabama receivers,
or at least Brock Bowers.
So he's got Oregon 1, Alabama 2, and number 3, the winner of the ACC is Miami. So to spoil it for Florida State fans, McMurphy does not have Florida State in the 12-team playoff, with Miami winning and then Utah winning the Big 12. I think a lot of people are picking Utah to win the Big 12. I have it Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy, he's a man. He's 40. Now he's probably like 57, but either way. Yeah, those are Brett's top 4. What do you think?
Utah, no questions asked, best team in the Big 12. Miami, we already alluded to Emory Hunt's currently on CBS Sports Network saying that they're going to win the Natty, that they're going to have the Heisman winner in Cam Ward, et cetera, et cetera. For me, the bigger storyline, because I could see a world in which both Florida State and Miami find their way into the college football playoff. I believe that exists. He has 2 teams from the ACC in his 12-team field, but the other is Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
and
that to me is outlandish.
That is where, and look, McMurphy was in on Kansas State last year, and I believe if Kansas State had stayed healthy, especially with all of these Will Howard truthers coming out of the woodwork now that he plays for the Buckeyes, and even then, you could argue that the quarterback that replaced him, who is the quarterback at Kansas State, is better than him anyways. So I'm not going to doubt Brett. He also had Washington in the national championship last August when no one else did.
Yeah.
I want to know why. I want to know why Virginia Tech is going to take this massive leap, because I haven't heard or seen anything that tells me otherwise.
And Florida State, to me at this point in time, I think Florida State wins the ACC, but they also definitely, at least as of now, deserve a chance to be in the, or not deserve a chance. They deserved the chance last year and they didn't get it. But they, at least from what we've seen, Florida State should be in the top 12 right now.
I would like to see like a little bit of reasonings behind beside each of them. But he did, if you go back to the top of it, he talks about how accurate in certain areas he was last year. And I think it said 59 of 82 he corrected correctly. So there's a large number. And like you just said, when he's right about Washington and certain teams like that. But that's why I would like a little side note of
why.
Yeah, like where is the why?
Explain yourself. Yeah. So Buckeye fans, Dogs fans out there, don't worry, you do make the 12-team playoff according to McMurphy. He has Ohio State 5th, Georgia 6th. I don't think any of us would be surprised if they're
in the field somehow, some way.
Yeah, and I think, again, Georgia, I think, is the best team in the country. I think they'd be number 1 in this, like Mia said, but that's neither here nor there for these purposes. Ole Miss at 7, LSU at 8, Penn State at 9, Virginia Tech at 10, Iowa at 11, and Texas State at 12. That's the Sun Belt winner. The one that I'd pick apart here, other than Virginia Tech, like we already talked about, would be Penn State. Penn State, to me, is always a team that in August, everyone is high on them. And then come October, everyone realizes that, yet again, this is the season where the Nittany Lions are going to be 7-5.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people high on Penn State. So this isn't the
They
first
do this
one.
every year.
Yeah, that's not the first one, especially this season, that they've talked about. A lot of the college football experts are pretty high on Penn State.
But it's all about Drew Aller.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem. Drew Aller. He's going to change. He's going to change the pronunciation, like Ludwig Oberg 17 times. They are banking on, they bring in, I'm going to butcher his name, but thankfully I have the pronunciation in front of me. They bring in Andy Kotelnicki, who was the offense coordinator at Kansas. Kansas, of course, didn't have Jalen Daniels. They had Bean as the quarterback. They've had some fluctuation there. They have made Kansas football, he and Lance Leipold have made Kansas football relevant again, if only in a diminished Big 12. They are banking on this guy to come in and be the quarterback whisperer, to be the mentor that Drew has not had the last few years, that have not led him to living up to his potential. Look, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll work. We've seen other quarterbacks who they do get paired with an OC who can take them to the next level. I don't know enough about him to tell you if this is the surefire answer to help get Penn State over the hump. But Penn State, notoriously, to your point, Lauren, is an organization or a school under James Franklin that successfully recruits but loses the big games. And so until I see otherwise, I'm going to question them. And ditto to the 7th team in Brett McMurphy's projected playoff field, because I love Lane Train. I love Lane Kiffin, the transfer portal guru, not named Mike Norvell. But again, until I see Ole Miss winning games of significance, I understand it's been a winning program since he got to Oxford. I understand they've had double-digit win seasons. But until I see him win the big ones, I'm not going to include them in the discussion. Now, certainly an expanded playoff gives me pause because they have been a top 25, top 15 team, if you may, over the last few years. But I put them down as my most disappointing team when we did our predictions for 10-10, just because I think the expectations are so lofty. And even in this outline, they would still be the 3rd SEC team into the field.
Yeah.
Taylor, no Notre Dame in this, but Iowa makes it. Any issues with that?
No. I mean, I don't know. I feel like for me, there's been Notre Dame's that other team that everyone preseason is talking about. Okay, this is the year. Last year was they finally get, a quarterback, Sam Hartman. He's going to be able to take them over this hump, and they lose 3 games, and it's very disappointing. So I am to the point where I'm not going to get myself excited over that, even though there are a lot of guys, Matt Hayes, for example, who loves Riley Leonard and does think this is the change that they've needed. But I just do think for Iowa, for example, when you're talking about defensively what they've been able to do, Notre Dame has had a good defense, but not nearly to the level that Iowa has the last few seasons.
Iowa's schedule, while certainly some have said it's manageable, I don't know about that personally. You do have to go to the shoe. You have to face Ohio State first weekend in October. You could make the argument that's the quote-unquote most difficult game that Iowa faces. And because Ohio State is presumed to be in the field anyways and presumed to be the front runner to be one of 2 teams in the Big Ten title game, that you just kind of throw that away. And even if you rematch them in the Big Ten title game, oh well. They're home against Washington. We don't know what Washington will look like with Will Rogers, with a new head coach, a new coaching staff, a new look. Goodbye to Kalen DeBoer. Traveling to Lansing. We also don't know what Michigan State's going to be with a new head coach as well. Playing at Spartan Stadium has been a little bit of a house of horrors of late over the last 10 years for the Hawks, so I have questions there. And then, of course, the ultimate trap game, home against Northwestern. Oh, and I didn't even mention at UCLA. I am genuinely curious with that at UCLA. As much as on paper, Iowa has the better team, even with Cade McNamara, 7 of 21 in the scrimmage a few weeks ago. As much as they have the better team on paper, I am curious to see if these crazy road trips factor in at all. Not just for Iowa, but for any team in the Big Ten, any team in the Big 12. Having to go to Cal for a Friday night game, having to travel from Miami to SMU. Yes, I understand you're already going to Boston College. You're already traveling up the Eastern Seaboard, so what's the difference? But I am curious if that factors in at all.
All I know is if Virginia Tech, Iowa, Texas State all get in and Florida State doesn't, there are going to be heads rolling in Tallahassee. Before we say hello to XL Primetime, we've got lunch to give away, Taylor.
We do. Lunch on the ladies. Lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 2 today.
I like it. All right, let's say hello to Leon.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers, the exclusive provider of BioTarget regenerative therapy for pain. Visit GoBioTarget.com for a location near you.
Leon, let me ask you. You've been a player. I know it was a different conference alignment in the 90s.
Yeah.
But travel. The idea of having to go from Boston College down to Miami, having to travel, wait for it, from Piscataway, New Jersey, if you're Rutgers, all the way out to face USC, UCLA. Do you envision that factoring in at all?
Yeah, I mean, travel never really bothered me, to be quite honest with you, when I was at Miami. Because I like to go into your environment, beat you, and have you leave about the end of the third quarter. So I never minded it at all. Some players do. I mean, going to the West Coast is a drag, especially when you're in Miami, having to go so far to the West Coast. But I don't know. What the coaches has a tendency to do is to keep everything familiar. The same times with meetings, same times with curfew, office, and all that kind of stuff. So they make it familiar with the home when you're at home as a way. So it didn't bother me at all when I was a player.
No time travel, jet lag, being in an airplane for too long.
No, because we didn't want to make any excuses if we lost. We didn't want to make any excuses we had to go to the West Coast and we were tired and jet lag and all that kind of stuff. No. But I can't admit, when we did lose to BYU in 90, the first game of the season, they did a lot of things to us. I'd rather not comment on.
They did make you walk.
They made us walk.
Yeah.
They wet the grass. It was food poison, all that kind of stuff happened there.
Leon, is the rumor true that your first time in the swamp will be in 2 weekends?
Well, it would be my second time in the swamp. Second time in the swamp. The first time I went to the swamp was an unofficial visit. It was during a game. I was on the sideline. I was with two of my teammates. One guy named Tony McCord, who actually played for y'all, who was a defensive tackle. And he's the reason why I didn't go to Florida, because his love for Florida just disgusted me. It did. I mean, he ran around. He kissed the F in the middle of the field, and he was so hyped up. I said, I can't come here with him.
So you saw a game in the swamp.
I did. I saw a game
from the sidelines.
From the sidelines.
So this will be your first time sitting in the stands.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
having
actually, if you're a first team All-American, you can stand on the sideline for the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you plan on standing?
I don't know.
It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be hot, and I'm probably going to be on the end zone where the sun is going to be shining at 3:30 in the afternoon.
I recommend going and sitting in their version of the terrace suite, the Swamp's version of that.
Really?
I recommend going there where there's shade.
Okay. Well, I had planned on going there, but watching it from a tailgate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't feel like standing in the sun at 3:30 in the afternoon.
In the swamp.
In the swamp. No, I don't.
I can understand that. What's coming up today, Leon?
Well, at 3 o'clock, we got Rick Ballou. He's coming in. He's going to talk about Florida State. And then we're going to the powers that be in the ACC. We're going to pick the conference champions.
Oh.
We're going to go each day, we're going to pick the champion from the Power 5 conference.
So ACC today.
Power 4, yes, that's right, Power 4. So ACC is today.
Oh, will it be Miami? Will it be Florida State? We'll be listening.
I'll be a homer.
Thanks, Leon.
Spoiler.
That's right. We'll be back on Friday from noon to 2. XO Primetime is coming up next. That's going to do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Mia, hope the wedding goes well.
Yes, thank you. Here's hoping everything travel.
Not Mia's wedding. Her
Not
sister's
mine.
wedding.
Not mine. My sister's wedding. Quick little hopper up and right on back. So let's hope it's as smooth as can be.
There we go. These hills are made for talking, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
When you ought to be truthing, and you keep